Good morning, everyone. This is update for June 5, 2022, day 102 of the war, end of the date update. Today we're going to jump straight to walk through the front line. So let's start with the north, and then we're going to do it in a clockwise fashion. So this section, this area is, as always, as we mentioned, is where there is artillery shelling from both sides, so the intensity remains the same, no differences there. Now let's look a little bit towards, move towards a little bit south. Let's see what's going on in the area near Kharkiv. So here again, the same situation, right? Pull and push by both sides in attempt to either create this buffer on Ukrainian side or push Russian forces out of the Ukrainian territory. So no essential changes here, low intensity fighting. Let's move towards south. Let's see what's going on at the Izyum bridgehead and Lyman bridgehead. So this is high level overview of the situation. These are main Russian mechanized brigades that are sort of workhorse of this attempt to encircle Ukrainian troops in the Donbass salient. This is Svyatohirsk bridgehead, what's remaining of it essentially. This is destroyed Lyman bridgehead. So let's actually look at what's going on in the area on the Izyum bridgehead. So situation more or less the same. Russian forces continue relatively weak attacks from Dovhenki and from Pasika towards southeast without success so far. Then also Russian troops are continuing hammering small Ukrainian bridgehead around town Svyatohirsk. It's still standing as of June 5th. We'll see what happens. We don't think it's going to last much longer, but so far it's still there. Now let's keep going. Let's look at what's going on around Severodonetsk and what we call Severodonetsk salient, which Russian troops trying to cut off right now, which is the focus of their attack. So let's first look at the northern shoulder. It's quiet here. No new attempts to cross Severodonetsk River, which is here, even though it's the water level is very low, so the opportunities are there technically. So then so situation in Severodonetsk is more or less stable so far. Let's actually quickly jump there. This is how this is progression. This is development of the situation in Severodonetsk. So Russian troops started attacking on May 30th. They captured small foothold here on the eastern side of the town. Then next day they pushed quite a bit Ukrainian troops. They essentially captured majority of the town itself, because this is industrial area, right? This is where there's this Azot manufacturing facility, chemical manufacturing facility is essentially. So this is not a town. And this is like power supply station and stuff like that here. So essentially the town is basically bound by this street here. So they captured majority of the town. Then the next day they pushed Ukrainian troops to the manufacturing facility. So the fighting was going on in the manufacturing facility. Then on June 3rd there was a counterattack of Ukrainian troops that managed to push Russian troops outside of the manufacturing facility and gain a little bit ground in the town itself, but not, as you can see, not really much. Here we're still trying to determine exact location, but based on some information we're getting, this is more or less correct. So basically Russian troops control Mykolayivka. The Ukrainian front line goes and Russian front line goes somewhere around this area. We don't have precise location, but it's the sort of like the most point where Ukrainian troops managed to advance here. So this is like, if we look from there a little bit more towards south, Ukrainian troops managed to capture during that, managed to liberate village Syrotine during that counterattack. So now let's actually go back after we saw what's going on in Severodonetsk. Let's look a little bit more towards south, because there are very concerning developments here. So here situation more or less stable, no Russian advances. However, Russian troops managed to make advance here from this area, and they captured village Nyrkove, which was here on railroad line, and then they advanced all the way to village Mykolayivka, where they were stopped. So in this is very, intense. There is very intense fighting, because Russian general was killed in action here, who was leading his troops, his soldiers. So this is actually example of sort of exception in sort of Soviet system, where the general is actually with the soldiers, and he died with the soldiers. So the same actually goes true, because here from the 24th Brigade, the commander of the battalion, I think his level was Lieutenant Colonel, also died in action somewhere in this area. So as you can see from like deaths of the commanders, this clearly signifies that intensity of fighting is very high, and it's kind of like a probably turning point one way or another. Nobody can predict where it's all gonna go, but it's definitely very bad development for Ukrainian troops here, because now it's becoming even sort of more possible to sort of to do at least encirclement of Ukrainian troops here, or force their withdrawal basically from this area around Zvytohirsk in Novoivanivka. So this is really under sort of quite a bit of threat right now. Plus, there will be needing additional troops to plug the flanks of this hole here. We don't know where the sort of flanks. We do know that Ukrainian troops control village Rubizhne, but here we don't know actually. Its situation is very fluid on both flanks, so it's kind of unclear. At the same time, one thing is, it's very clear that both sides are very exhausted. As we discussed yesterday, we described a difficult situation in Russian army, and the same difficult situation is happening in Ukrainian army. So they both super exhausted. So this might be kind of like a last hurrahs on both sides at this point. But we'll see. We'll see what tomorrow brings to us. This is more like a bigger picture of the entire kind of like Russian breakout around Popasna. So this is this new breakout that happened this morning. The situation here in the southern portion of it is stable, no changes here. Continuing Russian attacks from the south towards north in attempt to sort of help their Russian troops on this side, but so far no luck here. So let's keep going. This is actually, let's just quickly go through Severodonetsk. This we already looked. And then we can actually look a little bit at the progression of the development of this Popasna salient. So this is June 1st. As you can see, Ukrainian troops control Pilypchatine and control Kamyshevacha. They control Nyrkove. This is kind of like a key points here. So then on June 2nd, Russian troops managed to capture Pilypchatine and advance here to essentially Pokrovsk. They captured Kamyshevacha here, right? So then the front line was stable for a little bit, and then on June 5th, Russian troops broke through here Ukrainian defenses somewhere around Nyrkove and essentially pushed north, and they were stopped here in Mykolayivka. And this is actually where that general was killed, somewhere in this area actually. So he was sort of on it, lead as I said, leading this attack. So that's the situation. And then probably somewhere, in this whole area, the commander of Ukrainian battalion was also killed from the 24th Brigade. So This general was commander of the First Army Corps. Actually, this is something that I forgot to mention, and this is very strange because, as we can see, as everybody, those who watch regular know, this First Army Corps is in near Donetsk. So that something is kind of strange here, but we don't have explanation for that. So let's actually kind of go right now to this area west of Donetsk, to First Army Corps. So this is First Army Corps, which is fighting west of Donetsk, right? So the sort of there, kind of like the area of operation starting from Svitlodarsk and then going south, southwest, and to Vuhledar, basically. This is their area of operation. So here there was not even any attacks. Today was just artillery shelling, so this is essentially front line is frozen here. So this is a closer look at Russian attempts to capture town of Avdiivka. This is salient that they managed to build. This is another area from another sort of launching pad for attack from the southern side in attempt to create like pincers and force withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from Avdiivka. But it's totally sort of stalled and dead right now. So let's quickly look at Zaporizhia front line, which is kind of also frozen. This is what Russian troops managed to make so far, and this wedge. This was attempt to create this encirclement of Ukrainian troops in Donbass salient. This was southern pincer. It's being frozen for a long time. This is the front line here, essentially again frozen, no major attacks, just artillery shelling, artillery fighting. That's pretty much what's going on here right now. Let's jump to Kherson bridgehead. Situation here is actually more active. So there is continued fighting here around the Davydiv Bridge in this area. At this point, Russian troops managed to pull some reserves and they are counter-attacking, like in this direction. Let's actually look. This is the direction of their counter-attack here. We don't know about sort of success or what's happening in terms of territorial gains. We do know that Ukrainian troops still control the Davydiv Bridge, and this bridgehead. It's the part that's unclear to us if Ukrainian troops still control this village Bruskinske. So that's only unknown here. And also intensity of fighting is pretty high here because commander of the battalion from the 35th Naval Infantry Brigade was killed here. So that also tells us that intensity is high, and obviously Ukrainian side is stretched stretch very much in their ability to defend, basically. And also another interesting fact was that there was a large column of Russian tanks, T-62, was spotted here in Berislav, and they probably going here to help with further attempts to counterattack. And the interesting part about this T-62, because this is actually old tanks, it's like prior generation to this T-64, T-72, basically the whole T-64, T-72, T-80, T-90 is more or less basically the same tank, the same generation of tanks. They on the same plus minus level, right? Generation before these tanks was T-62 and T-55. And then generation before that generation was essentially World War II tanks. So these tanks are quite significant drop relative to regular T-72 and T-64, which is interesting because that's not what would you expect that the Russian army would bring to the front line. Basically, they bring outdated tanks that could be easily destroyed, and they don't have good sighting equipment. It's basically really old stuff. So is that a sign of sort of exhaustion in terms of the equipment on Russian side? We know that Russia has a lot of tanks and much more modern T-72s, mostly T-80s, mostly T-72s, quite a bit of them. So this is we're really still trying to figure out why they bring T-62s to the front line. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.